A skilled face reader sees the features, understands them, and lets them go. But if you get stuck on appearances, you've missed the point. We study the face to see beyond it. One of the benefits of face reading is that it reveals traces of past karma. For now, we'll focus on outer features. They're easier to read than the inner mind. We'll get to the inner side later. Take this for example. Why do women with prominent cheekbones and strong jaws often dominate their husbands or have conflict in close relationships? It's a reflection of past karmic force. The cheekbones, known as luong quyen, symbolize power and personal ambition. And when someone craves power or control, they tend to compete, to assert themselves. In relationships, that energy can turn into tension. If a woman constantly challenges her husband, he may feel worn down, distant, maybe even escape into drinking, then eventually walk away. That's why high cheekbones are sometimes said to bring hardship to a husband. Kak fu simply means creating friction. It's like being a difficult match for your partner. If the husband is strong enough, the challenge from his wife can actually build his resilience. Hardship becomes fuel for inner strength. Many men grow tougher after marriage because, let's be honest, most wives challenge their husbands in some way. When a woman doesn't have the power to control the outside world, she turns that pressure inward, toward her partner. But if the man lacks inner strength over time, that pressure can wear him down, even to the point of illness. That's what face reading calls a wife whose energy unintentionally harms her husband. The gap between making life hard for your husband and truly harming him, it's smaller than you think, just a tiny step. And the path from harming to supporting him? Also, just one small shift. That's why it matters so much to adjust our energy. A little more understanding, a little less pressure, and what used to be hurtful becomes something that helps him grow. A wise woman knows how to ease the tension, adjust her tone, and turn friction into harmony. When to push, how much to push, and when to lift him up, how to do it with care. If you find that balance, you don't just avoid harm, you help him grow. That's what it means to stand behind your husband and help him rise. In face reading, there's a rare kind of woman, one who helps her husband succeed and raises good children. But honestly, that kind's almost extinct. Ever since International Women's Day showed up, it's been hard to find her. These days, women are all about independence. I've got my own path, you do you. So where did that supportive, nurturing wife go? So if you meet a woman with strong cheekbones and a wide jaw, watch her eyes. That's where the inner character begins to show. The eyes reveal the heart, and you can't fake that. To soften the eyes, you'd need meditation or something just as deep. Otherwise, it won't change anytime soon. When you're angry, your eyes show it. When you're sad, same thing. The eyes don't lie, they reflect what's going on inside. Your thoughts shape your gaze in real time. You can't fake that. Unless your mind's been through serious training, like real meditation, you won't be able to hide it. Go ahead, try. Like, look people in the eye when you speak. Speak clearly, your voice, your energy. That comes from your inner state, not your looks. You can't measure it with a scale, but you feel it. Just listen to someone's tone, look into their eyes, and you'll sense who they really are. You've seen it, right? Some guy looks all handsome on the outside, but one glance at his eyes and you're like, nah, this guy's got player vibes. You just know. You can't measure this stuff with numbers, no ruler, no scale will help, but you feel it. You hear someone's voice. What kind of energy does it carry? You see their eyes. What are they really saying? That's how you read their inner nature. And let's be real, some guys look sharp, well-dressed, charming. But one glance at their eyes and you know, this one's a flirt, right? You just sense it, instantly. And then there are people who look pretty average at first, but after talking for a bit you realize, hey, this guy's actually really genuine and down to earth. You feel it, right? That's not something you can measure. What you're sensing is their inner character, their Tom Twong. And the easiest way to read that? Through the eyes and the voice. You watch how they look at you, how they speak, how they behave. Give it a little time and you'll feel it in your gut. This one's honest, sincere. If 5 people meet someone and all 5 feel the same, yeah, this person's truly genuine, then it's probably true. No need for detailed face reading at that point. That kind of instinct is powerful. But the thing is, you can't really write down gut feelings. You can't turn that kind of insight into a book or pass it on to others. That's why people mostly record the physical side of face reading, because it's easier to teach. But reading someone's energy, their character through their eyes and voice, that's much harder to pass down. These days we actually have a way to pass some of this on, thanks to video and photography. A well-timed photo can still capture a person's energy, their presence, even a glimpse of their karma. It's not everything, but it lets us read a little more than just the surface. Now, let's talk solutions, especially for those with high cheekbones. In face reading, that often means marry late. Why rush into marriage just to add more sorrow to your love story, right? See, high cheekbones usually come with a strong ego. And when you marry too young, that ego hasn't softened yet. There's still a hunger for control, for conflict, for demands. It's not about fate. It's about timing and self-awareness. Getting married at 25. That's still too young emotionally. You've just come out of your teenage years. Still full of pride, stubbornness, and fire. At that age, the ego hasn't settled. So when 2 strong-willed people come together too early, it's like 2 wild bulls clashing. Someone's bound to get hurt or walk away. That's why early marriages, especially for women with strong features like high cheekbones and square jaws, often don't last. Divorce rates, easily 80 to 90%. That's why the old masters always say, get married later, wait until you're 31. It's the classic advice in face reading. Why 31? Because by then you're no longer a wild young horse kicking at everything in sight. And who do we end up kicking? Our own husband, our own kids. That kind of chaos makes no sense. At 31, we've lived a bit, we've softened, we know how to choose our battles, we're more grounded, and that means lower chances of divorce. Simple as that. And another reason? By 31, we're not that young anymore. We're done playing hard to get. So we start wanting less, expecting less. That's it, really. Nothing complicated. In fact, I joke sometimes, just wait till 41. By then, no more drama, no more fuss, just peace. Back in the day, I didn't get it either. But now, totally makes sense. I've got a relative, my older sister. Big forehead, flat nose. She's super smart, really. But she got married at 27, divorced at 29, married again, divorced by 32. 2 divorces. She's got that big forehead and flat nose combo. And yeah, very sharp, very intelligent. But sometimes that kind of intelligence ends up overpowering the husband. A big forehead also tends to come with big expectations and a wild imagination. People with big foreheads are smart, no doubt, but sometimes it's too much brain power. And when there's too much, the mind starts running wild, overthinking, overanalyzing everything. That's why we meditate, to calm the mind, to keep it from spiraling into all sorts of thoughts. Because the mind, left unchecked, goes to weird places. You've got to slow it down so it can start thinking clearly again. If you're not going to use it, fine. But if you do, make sure your mind is sharp and focused. The problem is, most of the time our thoughts just wander all over the place. Now, back to the forehead and nose. In face reading, the nose represents willpower, career, even the husband. It reflects you. In fact, the nose is called Nhan, meaning the self. So when the nose is flat, it often points to weak judgment, especially in choosing a partner. A strong, well-shaped nose? That usually comes with better instincts in love and life. Simple as that. Of course, all this is just the outer form. We're still talking about the surface. To really understand someone, you've got to sense their inner world too. That's the heart of it. When a woman picks the wrong husband, it's often because she skips the good guy and falls for the smooth talker. Why? Because women love sweet words. We fall in love through the ears, don't we? So if a guy's been with you for 3 years and still forgets your birthday, he's probably a decent one, seriously. Because he's not trying to charm you, not scheming with sweet words. But the guy who remembers every date, your birthday, Valentine's Day, Women's Day, even random little anniversaries. Heck, he might even remember your parents' birthdays. That guy's got a plan. He's playing a game. Simple as that. Only a smooth-talking player remembers that many special dates. A real gentleman. He doesn't keep track of stuff like that. Think about it. Have you ever seen the Buddha throw himself a birthday party? Ever heard of him celebrating Valentine's Day or New Year's? Nope. Never happened. Even in the Bible, have you ever read a part where Jesus throws himself a birthday party? Or celebrates some holiday or special occasion? Not once. That's when it hit me. People like that, the ones who don't care much about dates or occasions. They're usually the real ones. People who focus too much on the little things often miss the big picture. But a true gentleman, he sees the whole picture. He looks at the long game, not the tiny details. Here's the problem. Some women want a husband who dominates the world, holds his head high out there, but at home, he's expected to notice every little thing like a housemaid. That guy? He doesn't exist. So really, you'd need 2 husbands, one to impress the world, and one at home who does everything exactly the way you like it. But instead of chasing 2 husbands, why not just shift your mindset a little? That's all it takes. Honestly, it's just a lack of letting go. Out of all the Buddhist virtues, loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity, what we're missing most is that last one, letting go. We hold on, but we don't know how to let go. We cling to our husbands, grip tight onto our children, and that's where the trouble begins. It's the same in business. We hold tight to our money, our control. And from there, the market turns into a battlefield. It all starts with that need to hold on too tightly. The ability to let go, that's a whole different level from just knowing how to hold on. Out of tens of thousands of people, only a few truly know how to let go. Most of us are just clinging to something. But once we start to see even a glimpse of our karmic patterns, how they've shaped us, we can begin to understand the past, and from there, learn how to work with it. People with strong cheekbones and wide jaws often carry a fierce drive, ambitious, assertive, and quick to argue. That jawline, it loves to win with words. Always ready to reason, to push back, even at an age when they're still learning how to listen. The elders used to say, "Too much reasoning before life has taught them enough." So how do we soften that energy? By letting go of constant wanting. Ease the urge to control, and the fire inside starts to quiet down. When you ease your desires, when you stop demanding so much from life, those high cheekbones, they soften on their own. No need to go for cosmetic surgery, okay? We don't want your name popping up in the tabloids along the Red River. Now, the jaw. A strong jaw is actually a gift. It shows you've got a voice that carries. But if that power turns into constant criticism or harsh demands, it doesn't help. It only hurts the ones you love. Sometimes all it takes is a gentler tone. Speak kindly. Soften your voice, and please, don't clench your jaw when you talk. Women do that a lot, tighten their teeth while speaking. It makes the voice sound sharp, harsh, even bitter. You ever notice how few men speak like that? But with women, honestly, 7 out of 10 have that biting tone without even realizing it. We need to soften our voice, make it gentle, calm. Because the moment your voice carries warmth, your energy becomes healing. And when your energy is peaceful, it naturally supports your husband and nurtures your children. But if your voice is filled with sharpness and blame, that's when you start to wear your family down. That's how we begin to shift, right there in how we speak. So tell me, do we fix this by going to a beauty clinic, or do we fix it by changing how we live? It's our attitude that matters, and attitude comes from the heart. That's your inner character. When we see ourselves clearly, our strengths, our weaknesses, what brings luck and what brings struggle, we start to understand where the real work needs to happen. High cheekbones are a strength. They show courage and drive. People like that often rise to the top. But the same fire that lifts them can also burn them, especially in love, where the fall tends to hurt the most. We learn to see our strengths and weaknesses, our blessings and struggles, so we can grow from them. Be strong when facing the world, but soften when you're home. It's all about adjusting, refining, and evolving. That's what we've been doing, shaping ourselves to rise above and move forward. Choose your friends, your boss, your team, and yes, even your partner wisely. Once you understand this, you'll see the signs. If your partner's cheekbones tower over yours, chances are you're signing up for a lifetime of servitude, so think twice. Be clear about what you're choosing. Some marriages turn out like this. The husband's only role is to think. No nodding, no shaking his head. That's it. So if you want to know who holds the power at home, just ask the kids. When something important comes up, who do you ask, mom or dad? Watch them pause, think, and then admit, yeah, in the end I still have to ask mom. Dad might say yes, but if mom says no, then it's still a no. So the kids go straight to mom anyway. In 9 out of 10 families, that's how it goes. Why? Because women often have a strong sense of attachment, wanting to own their children, even their husbands. It's that grasping mind, that craving. By the way, how many of you here haven't taken the Right View 1 course yet? If you haven't taken the Right View 1 course yet, you might find some of this a bit confusing. That's okay. Just learn through the confusion. After 2 days, the fog clears. That's all that matters. If anything feels unclear, jot it down and ask at the end of the day. Sometimes your questions answer themselves along the way. So yes, learn to choose wisely. Your friends, your boss, your team, and your partner. A true leader needs a broad face and big ears. Only then do they carry the presence of a real boss. If someone's got a tiny, pointy face like a bat or a mouse, probably not CEO material. For technical experts, sure, a finer, more delicate face works. But for someone in a leadership role, like a CEO or executive, bigger features like a broad face and prominent ears tend to reflect stronger presence and authority. Of course, it's not an absolute rule, but it holds true about 90% of the time. A narrow, refined face is great for an advisor or a strategist, perfect for a prime minister, but not quite fit to be king. And a CEO? That's the king of the organization. The advisor, the strategist, that's more like a deputy, a consultant, or a specialist. When hiring, if you spot someone, even a factory worker, with strong features, a broad face, big ears, and clear articulate speech. Don't hesitate. Bring them in. Train them. One day, they'll be a leader. Simple as that. If you're willing to invest a year or two training them, they can completely transform and stay loyal for the next 20. Because when you change someone's life, you're planting a seed, and that seed bears fruit. You help a factory worker grow into a dedicated employee, then a deputy executive, and they'll stand by you for decades. That's just how it works. But if you look for someone already successful to be your deputy, keeping them for even 3 years is a win. Because you didn't plant the seed, their life didn't change because of you, so they'll eventually move on. No seed, no fruit. That's the law of cause and effect. And when you're the one who sparked that transformation, it's more than just loyalty. They may start seeing you as family, like a big brother, a mentor. Without your guidance, they might have spent their whole life stuck in that same job, never discovering their true potential. There are so many talented people out there, but they don't have the ability to truly see themselves. They don't recognize their own potential. And if you're the one who sees it, who lifts them out of where they are, that's your success. Just take the time to train them. That's all it takes. No need to only hire college grads' friends. Don't be too dazzled by university degrees. They often come with a pride problem, and that makes people harder to train. Too many hang-ups. Meanwhile, those from vocational schools, junior colleges, or even just high school, if you choose right, they can be much better. What truly matters is potential, not the diploma. Degrees don't mean much if there's no substance behind them. When it comes to love, it often begins quietly. A few years working together as friends, colleagues, even between boss and staff. And slowly, feelings grow. Love takes root. Then one day you choose to commit. You marry them. That means walking side by side for the next 40 years of your life. Get married at 30, bury at 70. That's the journey. Some couples spend 50 years together, so those 40 years, will they be joy or misery? It all comes down to how you choose. Choose right, and everything falls into place. Choose wrong, and no amount of effort will change the outcome. If you bring home the wrong person, no matter how hard you try, you can't turn the wrong person into the right partner, no matter how hard you try. That's just how it is. Some people are only built for basic repetitive work. They're not wired for growth or deeper understanding, no matter how hard you try. So choosing right from the start is everything. I see many people now who've chosen wrong, and later they come to me saying, "Teacher, can you do a face reading for us? Is there a way to fix this? But honestly, I don't even want to read their faces anymore." I just ask, so, how's your life with them so far? Is your home a heaven or a hell? And they say, "It's been hell for 5 years already." Well then, that's your answer. No need to look at face readings anymore. If you've been living in suffering for 5 years, what are you trying to fix? What's left to save? But even if you want to walk away, it still takes courage. You need to rebuild your inner strength first. Make it solid, then let go. Give yourself 6 months to a year to work on your inner world. During that time, if you truly transform from within, and your partner sees your change and begins to shift as well, then maybe it's worth holding on. But if they keep drinking, keep hurting you, keep tearing the home apart, then let them go. Why do you have to cling to someone who's destroying their own life and yours along with it? But many women stay stuck because of attachment, and behind that attachment is fear. Fear also makes them cling. They fear that their child will grow up without a father. That's the hesitation. But let me ask you, does your child really need a father at all costs? Or do they need someone strong, someone whole? Why not become both mother and father through your own strength? Can you do that? If your inner power is solid, what is there to be afraid of? But from what I've seen, when a woman doesn't have the inner strength to truly stand on her own after a divorce, it's the children who end up paying the price. In most cases, 9 out of 10 end up with broken kids. Because by the time they reach their teenage years, around 15 to 20, they want independence. And if the mother hasn't built enough strength by then, she simply can't guide them anymore. When a child starts seeking independence, the real question is, do we hold on or do we let go? The answer is, let go. But what do most mothers do? They grip even tighter. And that's when the damage begins. The more you cling, the more your child pulls away. And once they've closed their heart to you, it becomes almost impossible to truly connect. So why wait until they're 15 to start letting go? Why not begin, gently, wisely, from the time they're 5? Let them start growing up from the age of 5. Learning to let go, that's not easy. But if you give them space to mature gradually, at 5, 6, 7, all the way to 10, then by the time they're 15 or 20, they won't rebel the way you fear. But if you keep clinging on, trying to control them all the way to their teenage years, they'll push back hard, and when that happens, you're the one left hurt, wondering what went wrong. Then they come to me again saying, "Teacher, my kid's gone off the rails. He's hanging out with bad crowds, getting into drugs. I try to scare him, but now he's the one threatening me. He says he's about to run away from home. What do I do now?" See? That's what happens when you keep patching the problem at the surface, trying to fix the leaves instead of tending to the roots. Only when the damage is done, when the fruit has already gone bad, do people start looking for answers. But when it was still green, still growing, they didn't bother to learn. That's the habit of many of us Vietnamese. We study hard in school, maybe even through college, but once we graduate, we stop. We stop learning, stop growing. And that's where the real problem begins. On average, Vietnamese people read less than 1 book a year, just 0.8. That's among the lowest rates in the world. Maybe only slightly higher than some countries in Africa. And when it comes to reading our own Vietnamese books, I honestly think we might even fall behind Cambodia or Laos. The desire to truly learn and grow is still incredibly low among Vietnamese people. Most of us study just to get a position, to climb the ladder, not to go deeper into personal growth or inner development. If you look across the country, you'll see it too. People from the central region tend to be the most eager to learn, followed by the north and then the south. But even when you go to the central provinces and see how eager people are to learn, look a little deeper, you'll notice that much of that learning is driven by ambition. They study to gain power, to climb the ranks. So what's really operating beneath the surface? It's craving, greed, not genuine growth. They're not learning to develop themselves from the inside out. They're not learning to bring goodness to themselves or to others. That was never really the intention. Their mindset is simple. If that guy studied hard and became a government official, then our family's child has to study hard too. To become an official, that's it. So remember, choosing your friends, your boss, your team, and especially your life partner is incredibly important. That's why I started teaching my own child about face reading back in 8th grade. I told my child this: when it comes to choosing a life partner, get it right. Because if you get it wrong, you'll have to live with the consequences. And life doesn't always give second chances. When you choose well, navigating relationships, especially marriage, becomes so much easier. Face reading isn't just useful in love. It's a powerful tool alongside fingerprint analysis, career guidance, personality psychology, DISC, and team building. If you're running a business, face reading is actually a great tool for team building. It's also incredibly helpful for career guidance. And for those of you working with fingerprint analysis, honestly, I see fingerprints as more of a starting point. Face reading goes deeper, it cuts sharper, it gives you insights that fingerprints alone can't offer, especially what you're reading for their children. Remember this: a child is shaped by their parents. Parents are the cause, the child is the result. Even if the child has the best fingerprint patterns, it won't matter if the parents are constantly fighting, yelling, or being abusive. The child will still go off track. That's why you're not just reading for the child, you have to guide the parents too. And when it comes to guiding parents, face reading is the fastest way. We're not going to sit there analyzing their fingerprints, especially when they're not even the client. They're not paying for a fingerprint session, right? But through simple conversation, by reading their face and features, we can see what's going on inside and gently help them shift their mindset. If they're willing to change, their child's life will change too. It's that simple. Take weddings, for example. They're perfect. Everyone shows up looking their best, dressed up all out in the open. A few drinks in, the clothes loosen up, the guard drops, and people start talking non-stop. That's when their true energy, their spirit, becomes so easy to read. At weddings, people don't really hold back. If they like something, they say it. If they see something beautiful, they stare. That's when their energy, their spirit, gets revealed. And that's when reading them becomes easy. In contrast, reading someone during a job interview is much harder, because in an interview, the candidate's already prepared, they're guarded, they're performing. But at a wedding, no one's trying to hide anything, they're just being themselves, and that makes it the perfect chance to observe. So those couple of hours you spend at a wedding, that's prime time for practicing face reading. It's a great opportunity. Just sit at the table and quietly start reading one person at a time. Then a woman dressed a little provocatively comes over for a toast, and you'll see some guy's eyes light up. That's a clear sign. His mind is being driven by desire. Craving is at play. And then another woman comes by and he reacts the same way. If this repeats a third time, it's no longer just a moment of weakness, it's a pattern. At that point, you know this person's attachment to sensual desire is deep. It's a strong karmic habit, and it won't be easy to change. Healing that takes time. People like that almost always have an affair, or their love life is full of turmoil. Either they deceive their spouse or they resort to controlling and even hurting her to silence her so she won't fight back. That's usually how it plays out. But if you're observant, you can see it. Just watch their eyes and the fine lines around the corners. The truth is right there, written in their face. And if their voice starts to flirt, playfully engaging with the opposite sex, that's another clear sign. No doubt about it. So really, observing people isn't all that hard. You can do it anywhere, anytime. It's not as complicated as it seems. A word of caution: never approach this with a rigid or superstitious mindset. That doesn't just apply to face reading, it's true for any subject. Study math mechanically, you'll fail. Study chemistry by rote, it won't work. Even learning economics just to chase money, if you're too rigid, you'll miss the essence. Whatever the field, if you're mechanical, you'll miss the mark. That's why, as human beings, we need to be flexible. We need wisdom. We can't live by fixed formulas. We have to understand and adapt. But Vietnam's education system has long been one of rigid conformity. Students are trained to follow scoring rubrics, memorize model essays, and do everything by the book. And when people grow up learning that way, without the space to think critically or question deeply, it's no surprise they become superstitious. Have you ever noticed how superstitious we are when you visit temples or pagodas in Vietnam? How often do you see someone lighting incense and sincerely wishing for their child to grow in wisdom, or to develop the ability to truly learn and think deeply? Hardly ever. Most of the time they're wishing for vague, superficial things. That's not spirituality, that's superstition.